Okay, hey everyone,
Good evening. God bless you all.
with the hubby. Um, I know we kind of took too long doing the video, but it's been hectic. So, for those who saw my video before, I was talking about how our journey started on May the 3rd last year, and we went to the hospital. They basically said it was normal, that he's fine, it's viral. You just got to give it time, even though I knew in the back of my mind that wasn't the case. So that that when we actually got to the hospital and we saw all the doctors and nurses from the ER come in, that's when I knew it was something more than what I thought it was going to be. Um, I've never seen someone or any doctors bring an x-ray so fast that day, right? It was in a matter of seconds, like 4 or 5 nurses. We couldn't even be in the room. Um, so they took his x-ray and you couldn't even see his, was it right lung or left? The right lung. The right lung. The right lung. And so hold on, because of course the little one is coming down. We're back. They came in, they could barely see the lung. It was so bad, it was collapsing, and
Beyond filled with fluid.
His oxygen level was dropping so fast. And in my mind, I was like, okay, well, we're here. I guess I'm going to be here for a while. And they were like, no, no, no. You guys are going to be transported because we don't have the level of trauma for him here. That even got worse. So we went in the hospital. We got transported to Joe DiMaggio, which the best decision probably ever. They were the best hospital, the nurses, the doctors. It was crazy. So I want to say last year, we were there and they were getting him ready for, we got there, we got into the ride in the ambulance. We got there and they were already putting a chest tube. And that was probably the hardest part to watch, your son, laying there. And you're not able to do absolutely nothing. But he took it like a champ. He actually looked at us, looked at me, and he said, Mommy, I'm brave. I'm brave.
He told me, Daddy, everything's going to be fine. I'm brave. I'm brave. And I was so proud of him.
Not knowing what he was actually going up to a child that's 3. And I'll never forget that. My father was actually on the other side. I had to leave my kids, my other 2, for those who know. And for those who don't know, I do have 3 kids. I have an older daughter and 2 boys. My other children were with my parents, with my mom. So that night was probably the most difficult, seeing him getting a chest tube. I've gotten one because I was in a car accident, so I know what it's like, but he's a baby. He doesn't know no better. I was under anesthesia. But thankfully the hospital allowed us to stay in bedside. And it was probably the hardest, 10, 15 minutes that I was there. And after that, he was sedated for the next 3 days. He really didn't move much. At that point, we were so scared. We didn't know what to think. And I want to be very transparent with you. We are a Christian. We serve the Lord. And even in that moment,
you can't help but question. You can't help but question. We were having that conversation just last night. And where my wife asked me, and that's later on in this video perhaps, but she had asked me, did you ever think, or did you feel that maybe we may leave this hospital without Jai, without our son? I couldn't contemplate my life without my wife. And I definitely couldn't contemplate my life without any three of my children, including my son. So it was scary, yes. My heart was pounding as they were doing live surgery on the floor, and all the staff, all the doctors, nurses, nurse practitioners.
There was more like 12 people in there.
Tatiana, that was it. All of them phenomenal. At Joe DiMaggio, I will drive the hour, going on 2-hour drive. We live in Ave Maria, for those who don't know. And it's worth it. Everybody was phenomenal. It was scary. And I don't think any parent, wants to outlive their child. And for those, even, I think that's a question that any parent would ask, why my child? Why my child? Why in general, right? We ask those questions. You can't help but it. You have emotions, you have feelings, you're a person. And it's beyond scary. But again, he was brave. He looked at us with confidence. He smiled. And that wasn't the first surgery. There were multiple. But that was the first one that was that particular night, marks the year anniversary.
It was the first night, and then he came out. He was great, but he did well. But he was sedated for 3 days, and after the 3 days, we had a doctor named Dr. Duncan. She came and she prayed for us. And there's not a lot of doctors that do that, because a lot of doctors believe in medicine. They really don't acknowledge God as part of their journey. And that's okay, to each their own. But we were, the whole time, God told us that we were not alone and that he was with us. But in that moment, I wasn't even realizing it. He was giving us messages through people, to ultrasound. They said, your son is special. God has a purpose for him. But you're not seeing that because you're so dwelled up in your pain and your son and about you that you don't even think about anything else. And that was my mistake. See, us as Christians, just because we serve the Lord or we go back, for those who know me, know that I left and was in the world and then came back to the feet of the Lord. But it doesn't exempt me or any Christian, any believer, of going through trials and tribulations. As a matter of fact, the Lord says we are going to go through trials and tribulations, but trust in him that he has conquered the world. So, of course, I wasn't acknowledging that, and I wasn't, I was in my pain. And on top of that, I couldn't be with my children. So this Mother's Day it's probably going to be, I'm going to make it the best, because last year I wasn't able to spend Mother's Day how I wanted to with my mom, with my children. And I know it hurt them. So fast forward a week into it, the doctors wasn't even giving us a time frame. That's how bad his lungs were. His lung was, the left lung. It wasn't looking pretty. And
they compared it to Swiss cheese necrotizing pneumonia.
It started necrotizing and started eating. That's how bad it was. And after the 3rd day, he woke up and he asked for food. So this is where a lot of the miracles started, and we weren't noticing it. I wasn't noticing because, again, I was dwelled up in my pain. And I'm only sharing that because I believe I know someone that might have been going through it, and you just need to sometimes learn it the hard way. And I had to learn it the hard way. I had to be there a whole month in order for me to acknowledge that there was more to the reason of us being there. So when he woke up, he asked for food. The doctor was like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Like, why is he even asking for anything to eat? But if he wants to eat, I don't see any other reason for it. they took him off the oxygen. We moved from the 7th floor. We went straight to NICU, which is, whoever has been to Joe DiMaggio, that's probably the worst floor. The 8th floor, or was that 7th floor? I forgot.
7.
And we were there for a few days, and then we got transported downstairs. He was able to eat. They took him off oxygen, and he looked like he was getting better physically, and the doctors couldn't explain it. They didn't know how is it that he was getting multiple x-rays every day, and they couldn't tell me or explain how is it that he physically was talking, playing with toys, and eating, versus his x-ray was worse and worse every day. It wasn't better. And it got to the point where a lot of people kept telling me, oh, there's a purpose, trust in God. And that's what we tried to do. We prayed and fasted in the hospital.
Broke night.
Hold on, puppy. And
Guys,
hold on, puppy.
I just sit on my bed.
Okay, hold on.
Can I
And
sit
so
up it?
that's him talking.
Can I sit up it?
Say hi to everyone. Say hi.
Who's that?
This is gonna go on YouTube. Say hi.
Who's that?
People.
Okay. Hubby went to go attend to him. So, after the week, they weren't giving us a time frame of when we were going to get out. And it was kind of frustrating, right? It was frustrating because I was like, well, what's going on? Are we not doing? What are we supposed to be doing? What else can we possibly be doing? And I didn't get it. I didn't understand. And then, my brother, he was always there talking to me and try to help me focus. And like I said, we were praying and we fasted, we broke night. And nothing is probably worse than not hearing nothing from God. And when I say that those who know, sometimes you feel like you're praying for something, you're asking for something, and sometimes you get a message or you get a response from the Lord, and you're like, okay, he's moving, he's talking. But for us, it wasn't that. It was silence. And for me, it was very hard to swallow, because I was like, I'm doing everything you want from me, God. What else could you possibly, I don't know what else to do.
Hi, guys.
And he, the silence is probably the hardest part. But as the weeks went on, I saw, before I had left the upstairs, I saw this one little girl that was been there for months, because, you start walking the hallways, you start looking around just to, kind of get out of the room to see to kind of get your mind off of it, for even just for a split second. And I know that there was this one lady that God touched me and, basically directed me towards her, but I didn't know how to approach her, because let's be honest, everybody's there with a pain. Nobody's there because it's fun. So I went and I wanted to approach her, but I couldn't. She looked upset all the time. I mean, who wasn't gonna look upset? I was probably even worse. So I told God, please give me an opportunity to talk to her. So come to the second week, I was like, all right, I'm not going anywhere at this point. Might as well do laundry. I haven't gotten any clothes. I left here. Those who don't know, I live in Ave Maria, in Naples, and that hospital's 2 hours away, in Broward. So I just took a little small bag for my kid. I didn't have nothing else. So my brother was hugging it up with a t-shirt and sweats, and so I was just washing it over and over again. There's a laundry there, and in that day I actually bumped into her, this lady, that I was talking about. And I said, hey, you were in the 7th floor. And she was like, yeah, you were there too. How was your little boy? I guess because everybody knew what was happening, because it was so traumatizing. There was so many people when they were doing the chest tube. And I told her what was going on. And then she told me about her daughter. She was there for 7 months. And her daughter had just woken up, and that's why they brought her down to the other floor. However, she had a brain aneurysm, I believe, or something like that. She went to sleep, woke up, didn't wake up. And she was telling me her story, and obviously with so much pain and so much anger. And I could understand that, right? Because I was upset too. I was like, why, God? Why me? Why us? What did I do wrong? You know? And so at that moment, I wasn't thinking like that. I was like, you know, God has a purpose. And she was saying, well, what's the purpose? Me being in pain? Like, I don't see that. And of course, you know, she was upset, and you can understand that. And I said, you'll see that there's a purpose, but don't ever stop losing faith in the Lord. And I was giving those words of comfort to her, not even knowing that if I was taking it for myself, gotta be honest. But I knew that there was a purpose. So fast forward, I asked for her name. She gave me her daughter's name, and I went back to the room. I told Eddie, my husband, and we were praying for her, right? And then next few days, I bumped into her again, and she said, oh my God, let me tell you, she moved her arm. And mind you, the doctors had told her no, it was never going to happen, that even because she came out of her coma, she had too much time without oxygen or whatever, and chances of her not coming back to how she was before was slim to none. But there's nothing impossible for the Lord, and we were constantly praying for her. And I know it was God, because before that, when I had not talked to her and she was upstairs, I said, God, whatever she's going through, please help her, heal her daughter or her child. And I know that it was God that woke her up. Nobody could tell me any different. But even though I was seeing this miracle, it still wasn't sinking in for me that was one of the purposes that we were there. And a lot of you are probably asking, why would God do that to a child or whatnot? And sometimes we as adults don't put emphasis on the Lord and on God, and he like kind of diverts us into it, but always has his hand on your children and on your family, and has a purpose. And I know that every story doesn't end like mine, but at the end of the day, there's always a purpose. Unfortunately, in this world, we're gonna suffer, and we're gonna lose people, and we're gonna hurt, because there's this hurt in my heart that probably will be there for a while from everything that we went through, because we saw so many children sick, but we did see miracles. So this little girl, after a while, every time I bumped into her, something new, she came in, she walked, not walked, she was moving her arm, then she started talking, something that they were not seeing, and I know it was God. And then one night, I remember JD coming, they allowed us to walk with him. He had a machine, and he was walking with the machine, and they told us if he wants to walk, let him walk. Well, there's nothing, stopping him. Let's go walk. And we walked, and he started looking at the rooms. He's like, oh, mommy, what's wrong with that child? I was like, Papi, I don't know, but we're going to pray for them. And then he's like, okay, let's pray now. Mind you, before this, I had instilled in my heart, like, gathering up the moms and offering prayer for them, but you're not allowed to do that in the hospital, unfortunately. So they denied that request when I had asked. So this was the next big thing. So I was telling JD, well, Papi, be quiet, we can't be loud, because I didn't want them to, unfortunately, when it comes to things of God, there's always a problem. So he just extended out his hand, And I said, okay, papi, let's pray. And he prayed for them. And when I tell you, as the days went by, majority of the kids that were on that floor left. And that's when it got worse for me, because I was like, all right, God, what's up? When is it gonna be our turn? And it was just getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And then it came to the point where, he's okay?
Yep.
It came to the point where I had to let go and, tell myself, we're going to be in this for the long run. Get comfortable. And at that point is where I was like, okay, he's eating, he's talking, he's playing. What else am I going to ask for? Even though his lungs got worse and worse. He had to get 3 chest tubes, right?
Yes.
He got 3 chest tubes. It got to the point where it made a hole in the lung. And it was leaking air.
He got 1 on this side and 2.
2 here.
2 in the front.
It was just not getting better. And I said, you know what? All right, God. I stopped that questioning. I stopped saying, okay, God, when is my turn? I stopped that and I was like, okay. I let go and I got comfortable. I was like, I'm going to be here. Might as well. I changed my whole attitude. I was laughing with the nurses, talking to the nurses, trying to bring light to the nurses. Try not to cry and ask. I wasn't even praying for us anymore. I was more praying for everybody else and the mothers that I seen suffering. And then I feel like God was like, all right, you're passing it slowly. Now let me give you one last chance. Let me see, where is it really your faith that's there? And what happens towards, like, I want to say the 3rd, going into the 4th week, he spiked up a fever.
High.
A high fever, like 104, and there was nothing bringing it down. And I was like, what? Honestly, at that point, this is probably the hardest part of the video. I had to walk out of that room. I told him, stay with him. I walked out and I walked out the hall. And I said, God, take away his pain. Because he looked miserable. It was hard. Even the nurses, I have 4 nurses staying there. They didn't even want to leave to go home. Because they wanted to. They didn't know what else to do. They didn't know what else to try. And they were so attached to him that they felt like, they were moving fast. And I told God, you know what, God? If it's your will, and he has to go, then so be it. As long as he's not suffering anymore. I can't be selfish. And that's probably the hardest part. And I said, that's it. I trust you. And I started praying for every other person in the hallway. And I did 2 runs around the hallways. And I stopped. And I came back. And then that's when, what was the nurse's name? The night one, the overnight one, that she was telling me her testimony. I forgot her name.
I'm so terrible with names.
We are
I
horrible.
apologize.
We know every staff there. We were there. We know their schedules because that's how long we were there, right? She was the overnight nurse. I'll never forget. And she was telling me her testimony. And she was like, you know what? I don't know why I need to share this, but I need to share this with you. I had my daughter. She had her daughter premature. And she had prayed for her daughter for a while. And she was saying the same exact words. Why my kid? And I think she was working at the time, and she was trying to go to work, take showers, and go upstairs to the NICU because her daughter was premature. And she was She was also Christian, also a pastor's kid. For those who don't know, I am a pastor's kid. And she was asking the same questions. Why? I did everything you used to ask for. I read the Bible. I preach to the youth. I go to church. Why my kid? Why my first? And then she said that the Holy Spirit talked to her and said, why not you? Who are you to think that you're exempted from this world's pains? This is where I want to test your faith. And she's like, I don't know why I need to share that with you, but I do. And I was like, you know what? You're absolutely right. I'm nobody. I'm just the same person like everybody. And I'm just because we walk in this walk doesn't mean that we're not going to suffer pain. There's so many things. Oh, and something that I haven't even mentioned during this whole ordeal, my dad was diagnosed with cancer for the second time. So he was doing surgery while we was in the hospital, and I couldn't even be there for him. So it was so many factors playing against us. And I said, you know what, you're right. And at that moment, I said, you're absolutely right. And I said, Lord, I surrender everything. Do what you want. Just give me strength and my husband strength. And then the fever broke. The fever broke and it went down like nothing happened. And we were all asking why, where did it come from? I wasn't even asking why. It was everybody else that was, because they were so careful with him. We didn't know where it came from. And it was not the same bacteria because they had already gotten it under control. He was on antibiotics, heavy, for the pneumonia, the strep pneumonia, because it's strep pneumonia. And all of a sudden, it broke. It went away. Like, they didn't know. They just know that it was an infection that came from some sort, and we didn't know what it was. But it was like nothing. And I was like, okay, well. At that moment, I knew. Hold on, honey. At that moment, I knew I didn't. If he wanted me there another month, that's what my mind was there. I wasn't even thinking about going home or asking or anything. I don't know if you felt the same way, because at that moment, we made it our home there. I don't.
The doctors shrugged their shoulders. They didn't really know what to tell us.
What
they
to
didn't really
do.
have any other suggestions. I remember one doctor saying, hey, we truly just don't know where this is at. Just expect a long haul. That's all I can give you, you know. We
were the first few weeks, we were going through the rounds. So when you're in ICU, these nurses and doctors go through rounds, and they go through every, and they discuss with you what's going to happen or what they plan on doing for the day to help the baby get better or your child get better. And every day, we would just run, right? And it was like, 6, 7 in the morning. We wouldn't eat, nothing. We'd just run to the door to see what was next. And it got to the point where, like, sometimes we're like, all right, oh, we missed him. Okay, we'll come back or whatever, because they couldn't tell us anything. And we weren't so eager. We just know that he was okay and he was eating. And at that moment, they were trying to control the leak with the air in his lung, and nothing was working.
Keep in mind, the lung itself was awful. Pictures, images were terrible. Doctors continued to look at it, didn't have an explanation. The chest tubes essentially weren't really working, at least not till the very last, the third one. And even then, it still took some time. But more impressively, they couldn't explain how he's eating, talking, acting,
walking.
Keep in mind, this seemed to be around the floor. There were other children with multiple, past 3, 4, 5, 6 chest tubes, multiple chest tubes, pretty much on the state of comatose, if you will. Wasn't doing anything. Meanwhile, Jai was walking, talking, acting like nothing was going on.
Laughing
with
the
the shopping cart with his little chest tube thingy.
With a little box.
And praying.
Yes.
And I say that because nothing is impossible for God.
Don't do my Barbie.
Nothing nothing is impossible. So when you have doctors, professionals, keep in mind they're studying, medicine for years upon years. It's very seldom, if you, just like my wife was saying earlier, where you have both a believer and a doctor at the same time, because teachings have told them otherwise. But I know why my son was acting his normal self, and why his lung, or picture of his, or image of his lung, looked awful. God. There's no other explanation. That's exactly it. God. We're talking about the King of all kings, Lord of all lords, the Omega and the Alpha. For all our family, friends, complete strangers potentially watching this video, if you're not close to Christ, I only encourage you. I can't I can't force you or throw you. But if you're going through any type of trials and tribulations in your life right now, whatever that may be, in this day and age, a lot financially, marital, children, whatever circumstances, I assure you, God won't leave you. Today's message, which kind of corresponds with what we're talking about right now, was about faith. And I want to say second, third day we were there, Dr. Duncan told us to read chapter 11, Hebrews, verses 1 through 40. And ironically, well, it's not really irony, because there's no coincidence when it comes to God. He's just that amazing. But I think it's for him to say, hey, Eddie, Grace, remember a year ago you thought things were going to get real bad? I did that. I made your son come out. Give God the glory, the honor, the praise, the respect he deserves. He's amazing, and he will never fail you. So I just wanted to share that with you in reference to it. Please seek God, because this world is getting crazier. You see it day in, day out. All the stuff going on, campuses, craziness, just all the nonsense.
Direct your children to the Lord.
Yeah.
During that time, JD took to a Bible verse that we said, and he used to say it all the time, which was, I'll get him done in a minute. That's my second one. And it's in Jeremiah, and hopefully he'll say it. And he used to say it every day.
Every day. He had it memorized.
He used to say it every day before he went to bed. And he used to sing the victory song. And if you haven't heard it, I'll try to post the link for you here once we're finished. That was his, in a short age of 3 years old. So kids follow what examples you're given. And don't for women to think that our children do not see our crying or suffering. I don't know how many times JD told me, Mommy, I'm okay. Just don't cry. In the first few weeks, God healed me already. And this is him saying that with a chest tube and liquid coming out. And it was just, crazy how he had more faith than we did. Or at least me. I don't know about you, but more faith than me at that moment. And I'm supposed to be giving an example, but yeah, he came and gave us an example. And even when we got out, so after that fever broke, a few days later, we were just chilling. Out of nowhere, the doctor comes in and he tells us, hey, so you guys can leave today if you want. And we looked at each other like, what? Like, how you just come out of nowhere? Because they didn't know what else to do. They were like, they have removed they wanted to. So this was kind of like a trial and error, right? They removed the tube because it really wasn't, in their mind, they were like, we don't know if this is making it worse because it's collecting bacteria, because it's been there for so long. Chest tubes are only meant, from what I was told, and I remember a few days, tops a week. they're not supposed to be in there that long, and he had it for a month. So they were like, hey, let's try to see if it helps. They removed the tube, which was the scariest thing ever, because once they removed it, you felt the air. It was so weird. So weird. But he did well. And then that's when 2 days later, they came in. He was like, hey, you guys want to go home? You can go home because we really don't have nothing to do. His lungs is probably going to take up to maybe a year or so to heal
6 months
completely. He won't be able to do any type of exercise or go outside as much. He got to keep him indoors. And then they told us chances of him being an athlete are probably slim to none. But at that point, I said, okay. And in my head was like, God can do anything. If he's doing this now, I know that he can do it even more. Papa, you remember the Bible verse now? You want to say it?
I don't know.
Yes, you do. What was it? Do you remember?
Heal me.
Heal me.
No, say it.
Heal me. What?
You remember? Heal me, O Lord,
Heal me, oh Lord.
and I shall be healed.
I should be healed, and I should be saved. And God saves me, and He protects me, and every door just quit.
Yeah? He healed you?
That's all.
That's all? Okay. So the Bible verse says, heal me, O Lord, and
Jeremiah.
I should be healed. Save me, and I should be saved because you are my praise. That's Jeremiah
17:14.
17:14. So after that, I was in so much shock that I told him, Eddie, I think this is too soon. We opted off to stay another day because I didn't know. I wanted to make sure that this was the correct move. See, the biggest mistake, and this is where I'm going to talk to the moms or any caretaker, go with your gut instinct and do not wait. Don't wait. Don't think that you know because you have multiple kids. See, I took that fever as, oh, he's going to get better. I've gone through it with Liana. I've gone through it with Elias. No. Everybody is different. Every child is different. And just because you were safe and, I let that prolong for too long and to seek medical attention, maybe, I don't know. Although the doctor was like, there was no way we could have avoided it. And by the way, strep pneumonia, you do get a vaccine.
Which he did.
Which he did. He had it since the baby or whatnot. And it came up like he never got it. When we went, after we got out, discharged from the hospital, we went to go see where his levels of immunity was, and it was non-existent. So according to them, something happened, or I don't know what happened, but we know what happened, right? There was a purpose for us being there to strengthen our faith, to provide help and healing to others, to take that word of comfort and that word of God to others, and to see the miracles firsthand. Because one thing is that you hear it or you see it on TV or you see it in a church. Another thing is that you're living it. You're seeing these kids leave and feel better. That little girl, she ended up leaving, the one that was in the coma, after us. Something that they told her that was not going to happen. And her name was Lena, right? And it was just amazing. It was just amazing. It was so amazing how God just moved. And most importantly, taught me a lesson that, questioning is not going to get you nowhere. Asking why is not going to get you nowhere. Just being obedient and following his voice and trusting and having that faith in him. Having that faith that his way is better. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend like everybody has a happy ending or everybody has the outcome that we've had. But just trust and know that the Lord has a purpose. Everything in this world has a purpose. He does things perfectly and he always comes on time. He never is too early or too late. And, you know, moms, go with your gut instinct. God gave us that maternal instinct for a reason, you know.
Hi, God. Hi, God. God
And,
protect you.
and this was another thing. In the hospital, before they put the second tube in, I forgot to mention that he started complaining that it was hurting. And I said, why, Papi, what's wrong? So I had mentioned it to one of the doctors, and one of the doctors was like, no, he's under stress, he's okay. We just looked at the tube, it looks like it's fine. And I said, no, there's something wrong, because he kept pulling at his chest and he was getting agitated. And I told Eddie, I was like, go get me the doctor and we're going to do something. And if she doesn't want to hear us, then someone else is going to, because I'm not doing this again. Because the, excuse me, the first time when they sent us home, had they just tested the urine that had left in the previous video that I had mentioned, the doctors never tested it. Had they tested it, it would have came back positive for bacteria and they would have seen it and would have caught it. And I didn't push. I just let them, because they're the professionals, right? Sometimes you know your children more than anybody because you know how they are. And I told them, listen, I need you to take an x-ray and I need it now. And they were like, well, the people are, I was like, I don't care what you have to do. And we even, and she saw the agitation in me and she's like, okay, I'm going to get you the x-ray. Calm down. Let's go get it. And when the x-ray came back, it showed that his lung was collapsing again. And she came and I commend her and I respect her and I thank her so much. I forgot what her name was. She came in and she's like, I want to apologize because I should have listened to you. I thought I shouldn't have never put your feelings aside, knowing that you're the mom and you know him more than we do. And, you know, your son's lung is collapsing, so we need to put another tube. So with that being stated, moms, always, always, always trust your instinct. Always go, and no matter even if you're wrong, even if you drive that for no reason, you'd rather be wrong than right. Because I wanted to be wrong than right, and it didn't play out that way. And
you guys know your children better than anybody, and moms specifically. I mean, dads are, certainly important. And with that being stated, I know it's a little in advance, but happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. May 12th, right? I think it's May 12th.
Yeah.
Around the corner. God bless you.
And yeah, so that was our journey. And it was a rough journey. And I'm pretty sure maybe I left a few parts out of it, but I think that we got covered basically the most part. Trust in God, trust in the Lord. This is something that I don't know if you ever Googled, but I want you guys to Google what is necrotizing pneumonia. Necrotizing strep pneumonia. Not everybody makes it out, especially when you're that small. And that and within a few months, I think it was a month after, we went back for a checkup, and they were like, why does his lung look this great? But the doctor was like, well, he is resilient. He's a strong kid. I've never seen a kid so strong. As a matter of fact, one of the doctors, they were calling each other Superman and Batman because he was like, I've never seen a kid so strong. And one of the other doctors was like, you know what? He was not very social, right? But when my son JD started talking to him, he's like, you know what? Your son has got the biggest pain. What is it? Or resisting pain. I've never seen a child resist so much pain like yours. And you have something wonderful there. So good job, Mom. Good job, Dad. But that's not our strength. That's God's strength. That's his. He made him for a reason. He's here for a reason. I may not see it, or I may not know what that reason, like where his path might go, but I pray that God always directs his path. And so, with that being stated, like, now within a year, I actually have a appointment coming up only for a checkup. The last x-ray was done in September. The doctor was like, wow, I don't even see anything like if it wasn't nothing there. And January, after we got out, obviously, this is where it gets like kind of paranoia. Every little cold, you start thinking, oh my God, like, I'm not trying to mess up. Like, should we go back? But I went back anyway, just to make sure, and got x-rays. And the last x-ray was like unremarkable findings, nothing, and something that he was supposed to be long-term for, have scarring and everything like that. And I'm sure there is scarring, but not to the extent they probably thought, which obviously is all the glory to God. And
he runs,
jumps up, and they told us that he's probably not gonna be able to swim like that. He does. We are constant
within the first year.
Yeah,
they said don't do it.
We got an oxygen little monitor just in case to make sure, because with him it's like you can't really tell if he's in pain. Now he's so
used to it.
Yeah,
he just puts his finger out.
So I want to thank each and every doctor, nurse, everyone that was there to comfort us. Kat, which we'll see her soon. If you live in the Broward, Miami area,
definitely recommend
Joe DiMaggio. 10 out of 10. Not even 20 out of 10. Like, granted, they may have been a little bit of hiccups, right? Because nobody's perfect. But they acknowledged when it was a mess up. And they came and they tried to fix it. And they tried to do whatever they took. And they were so hospitable, wanting to comfort us, and they were so friendly with JD, and we just love that hospital, love every staff member. And thank you for getting this far in the video. It's probably long, and I'm sorry, but I wanted to get his story in detail, because something like this is something that we need to share, right? Miracles that happen, you shouldn't just stay with you. It should be shared. And I encourage you all to pray for whatever you're going through, to pray to him, to pray to God with all your heart, and have faith that he can make you through, to get you through this. And he will. And to also come to the fact that our ways are probably not going to be all the time his ways. And we need to be okay with that. And we need to trust that his plan is better than ours. Even when we don't like it. You know, because not everything was peaches and cream after. We're still going through troubles and tribulations. But we know, we've seen the miracles. We've seen him work firsthand. So trust in the Lord, trust in God. If you need prayers, hit me up, send me a message. I will pray. You don't have to go into detail, because God knows everything. But just know that you are loved, and not one tear he hasn't seen. You want to say that?
I co-sign that. Yes. Co-sign that. Today's message, I was telling, earlier in the video, I had said was Hebrews 11. And today's message in church was faith, walking by faith. And that's having hope in reality and not seeing it. Nobody I have come across can ever say that they've seen God. But that you felt him? Absolutely. That he's been in your presence? Absolutely. That he's with you right now as we speak? Absolutely. That he was with our son those 31, 32 days? Absolutely. He wouldn't have come out if it wasn't for him. Not for us. We didn't do anything. We were just there. We consoled as best as we could. Not even for the doctors, nurses. Granted, they got the wisdom, they got the technology. At the end of the day, still irrelevant. Still irrelevant. You know, chest tube really didn't do anything. Granted, it took the gunk out. It did, you know, I mean, it served its purpose to a certain degree. But what I'm saying here is who deserves all the glory, all the honor, all the praise, as it should be, all day, every day, is our one and Lord and only Savior. So again, if you haven't gotten close to him, certainly recommend to do so. As my wife stated earlier, if you need any prayers, any petitions, don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you for all that you've done, all the support. Joe DiMaggio, Kat, all the other nurses.
There's so many names. James,
Maddie, my man James. You probably won't see this, but
I don't know who's gonna get to see
Ninja,
it,
baby. Yes, stealth mode. You all treated my son phenomenally. He won't forget the experience.
For all those that called me or text me, a few of you hit me up. For all those who helped us out with the GoFundMe.
Yes, for all those who contributed.
Thank you. It helped so much. We were able to feed our children.
We weren't working. I wasn't working.
He wasn't working. Light bill was, due more, everything. Thank you so much.
God bless each and every single one of you.
I know that he's loved, JD's loved by God first and foremost, his family, and everyone who has prayed and reached out to us. And thank you from the bottom of our heart.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. God bless.
God bless you.